Hey guys, it's Brian here again, and finally I'm sitting in a truck that I wanted to see for a long time. I'm sitting in the 2022 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro with the iForce Max. And as you can tell by the seats, it's a gorgeous truck, so we're going to dive in. But before we do, I just want to give a special thanks to my subscribers and my supporters. Thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you liked the video, give it a like. But without further ado, let's check out this awesome truck. So, the Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. The rugged, awesome truck that's supposed to show off Toyota's off-roading heritage and legacy and really drive the spirit of getting out onto the adventures in the wild with anybody that jumps in the cockpit. It's changed a lot for this year because this marks the year of a new generation on the Tundra, and it's the first time a Toyota truck has seen the new TNGA frame, which is Toyota New Global Architecture. And what that means is there actually are no leaf springs on this truck. So we're going to break down the exterior of this truck, talk about the space, work our way inside, and then talk about the way it drives. Let's begin. So if you've seen any of my other videos, you know by now that the first thing I like to talk about on any vehicle that I'm reviewing is the headlights. And with the new Tundra, there's a whole new design of headlight. And on the TRD Pro, they're giving you everything that you could imagine. And we've gone fully LED all the way down to the fog lights. And these headlights have quad projector LEDs, saving one for the high beam, with a nice teardrop effect that we're seeing on all the new TNGA trucks, with what I call a dotted frost design for that tier. Beautiful LED side markers on the fender flares, and like I mentioned, LED all the way down to the bottom for the fog lights. When you're using the 4x4 system, there's a very bright LED bar here. That's the TRD light bar that Toyota's not going to let you use while you're doing normal driving to prevent blinding drivers. And 3 double LED with TRD written in them. DOT orange marker lights because of the width of the vehicle. Lots of airflow in the front with the TRD skid plate down below. That's a 1/4 inch aluminum on that plate there with access for the oil changes, and you'll see those bright red painted stabilizer bars with the Fox suspension special on the TRD Pro with a separate reservoir to really handle what you're putting the truck through. The look that we have here that Toyota's doing is what somebody during the Sequoia training event called technical muscle. And I kind of like that. They coined it, and I'm going to go with it. It does look technical muscle. It has that muscular look. There's a lot of different muscles popping out. It's very chiseled, but in a technical way. Another nice thing about the Pro is that it's not drooling in chrome. In fact, once we get into the interior, you'll see the only look of chrome on the interior is actually on the steering wheel. There's lots of airflow on this new iForce Max Hybrid, and you'll see this giant grille has no fake vents in the front here. And if we zoom out a little bit, the vents right below the headlight are functioning as well. And there's no chrome around the lip. This is going to be a nice non-painted plastic, which is going to take the beating over the years if you own one of these trucks for that long, going on the adventures. If it sees the brush, any rocks kicked up by other off-roaders, it's going to take that very nicely compared to a painted gloss black. The Toyota badge in the front is going to be a nice heritage grille with the sparkly silver. And this looks like it's not painted. It's actually just a sparkly plastic. I could be wrong, but it does appear and feel like it's going to take many years of grit and adventuring as well. Of course, we're greeted by the camera here, which we'll dive into the features when we get inside. There's plenty of viewing when you're off-roading in this Tundra. And now stamped in the front on this, I want to say, futuristic digital camo look. The camera doesn't do justice, but it's a very 3D look, and it has some texture grain to it. That actually is a design that we're going to see on the seats, and we're going to see on the fender flares. And speaking of the fender flares, let's scale back a bit and look at a side profile of the truck. You're only going to get the CrewMax short bed on this truck, which CrewMax means the big 4 doors and lots of space in the back, and the short bed means 5.5 feet. But moving our way back into the front over here, we're greeted with these nice matte painted wheels by BBS with the TRD badge. And these are going to be 18 inches. It's 285/65 R18 with a more of a rugged semi-off-roading tire. It's going to be good for the road or the gravel, dirt, and some light rock crawling. If you really want to do some advanced off-roading, you might even consider upgrading these, but out of the box, I think these tires are going to be very capable. But like I mentioned, we have this digital camo here on the fender flare instead of the traditional non-painted black that you would see on the older versions. It's very interesting. It almost looks frosty from a distance. You'll see that design shine over here on the TRD Pro badge, which is going to show our first fake vent here, which to me is not a big deal. I know some people get worked up about fake vents, but the badge itself looks very cool on the truck, and it definitely adds to the very tough look. As we go down the truck, you'll notice the shadows on the white paint will really give away some of the swooping muscle on the body of this truck, which is much different from the last generation, and some deep cuts on the belly of the truck as well. This one in particular has Toyota's famous Predator tube steps, which make it look like an Apache helicopter coming to grab everybody for action so they can take off to where they're going. But for the more advanced off-roaders, you would want to maybe consider removing these and taking advantage of some of Toyota's new and growing in popularity rock sliders that I saw on the 4Runner TRD Off-Road, or possibly some other options for protection underneath. But like I said, that depends on your level of advancement in your off-roading, because these are great for a lot of off-roading and regular use. Another thing you'll notice is the coarse texture to the paint here, which some of the first-time owners think is a defect. It is not. They design it here to take the beating a little bit better, and it's applied a little bit thicker for when rocks and things are flicking up against the paint here. Moving up top, new design for the mirrors. They moved it down into the corner here so that you can see through. And it's also going to be a non-painted black with a gloss bottom, which adds an interesting dimension to the truck. They are electronic folding with a turn signal and a painted bezel around the mirror. Following with that non-painted design is a simple non-painted door handle right here with a nice solid feel to the door. But instead of going with the matte on the B pillar like we've seen in the past, they've glossed it up a bit, which does play nicely with the gloss on the mirror and the semi-gloss matte finish on the wheels. So we're not doing an all flat black all around. We have that digital modern camo, a matte, I don't know, semi-gloss matte finish here, depends on the lighting. Two different tones of black with a gloss here. So all these different shades of black are really playing against the white, and it makes things very interesting to look at. Let me step back again for you. It brings it together very nicely as a whole, and it adds a lot of personality and dimension to the overall look. And like expected, we see this digital modern camo in the back over here. And if we dive in a little deeper, there it is. Another Fox shock in the back, no leaf springs. The TNGA frame adds to the stability, the crash performance, and the overall feel of the truck when driving, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The orange side markers in the front have to be paired with some red side markers in the back, which I really like side markers. Let me know what you think of those. And that muscle just shouts on the back of the truck. Totally new redesigned truck. We have these 3 stripes of red for the taillights. They're big, and at all angles they show off as well. And it definitely doesn't look like it's copying anybody's design. It's a very, very unique design to me. I call them the C-shaped taillights. It's almost like that C on a Tacoma, but rotated onto the Tundra with some 3D effect on those. TRD Pro is now stamped into the tailgate, not into the bed, and I suspect, I could be wrong, I suspect they chose the tailgate to stamp the TRD instead of the bed here, because if damage occurs during the off-roading, I think replacing the tailgate is going to be a lot cheaper and more cost-effective than having to make special TRD Pro only beds, whereas they could take a bed from any Tundra and replace that easy and cost-effectively. And let's face it, if you're doing extreme off-roading, damage can happen, so replacing parts easier and faster is really what you want to do. Moving on to the back, Those 3 front amber DOT lights are also paired with these nice looking deep red, I know the camera doesn't show it, dual LED lights in the back. Very nice, and it really helps you know that you're coming up on a wider truck and a larger size truck, and it adds to the style as well. And when we get close, you'll see that modern digital looking frosty camo on the back here. It almost looks like a wing, but it's not, which is really cool because I don't like trucks with wings. But the non-painted black here with that camo finish that is segmented pairs very nicely here to give it a very popping look. Of course, standard is the tow package, which you'll see in the review video. There are plenty of tow features, or not the review video, the tutorial video. There are plenty of tow features on this truck. And your 7 and 4 pins here. With some trailer lighting. If I push this, it comes down on its own. And there's actually a warning on the truck to let you know that your tailgate is down now, and it electronically locks when you lock the doors. The Tacoma's bed was made of composite before the Tundra. It was so successful because composite is very tough for all the temperature changes with the hot and cold, impact, scratches. I mean, it'll show some of the scratches, but compare that to having a fully metal bed with a plastic liner that you got to worry about water and debris getting inside and rusting out your bed. It's aluminum reinforced and fully composite here. And of course, out of the factory, we have the bed mat, which on my truck was one of my favorite mods because this really stops stuff from sliding around. Some channels here so I can make custom shelving, 2x4 table, and different slots so I can do some cargo controllers. A little low power electric accessory plug here, and right out of the box, the LED bed light kit in combination with a dual bed light kit right over there, and you'll see separate cameras, one for the digital rear view mirror, which we'll talk about when we get inside, and one so you can see what's exactly in the bed when you hit that button. And of course on the wheel wells you have slots here for 2x4s as well, with 2 stationary anchors here and 2 stationary anchors here. Of course, you'll get the cleats, which can lock and slide, so you can customize your anchorage for when you want to do dirt biking, 4-wheelers, motorcycle, kayaks, whatever you're into. This truck's ready to roll. The tailgate was lightened up. It's very easy to put up. It's a lot lighter than the last generation. It's even lighter than my Tacoma. It takes almost no effort, which is a great relief. Not that I didn't like it or wouldn't get a last generation Tacoma or Tundra, but I do notice that, and you'll notice it as well. It's much lighter than before. And here's a little non-direct light to show you what that super white looks like. The super white is going to be a non-pearled white. Next, let's pop the hood, talk about the engine and powertrain, and then work our way inside this awesome truck. Let's take a look at what 437 horsepower and 583 foot-pounds of torque looks like. Of course, it's nice to do the one-handed action on the new Tundra. We have hood struts, as opposed to the last generation, which had a heavy hood. You definitely needed to two-hand that one. 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo. That's 2 turbos powering this V6 with the hybrid system attached to it as well. Of course, you probably know by now if you're watching this video that not all Tundras have the hybrid system attached, only some of the higher end ones. All of the Pros come with the hybrid system on them. So just at a glance, without diving too deep, it's the V35A FTS engine. It's a 3.5 twin turbo. It's a simple design with dual intake with one filter on this side and the other on the passenger side. And that nice iForce Max badge with a blacked out symbol here for Toyota. It's still easy to check your fluid levels. For instance, my brakes, washer fluid is on the driver's side instead of the passenger side. And by doing a quick glance, I can see my coolant level as well. Check my fuses. But of course, with something this advanced, I wouldn't recommend tinkering with the hybrid system at home. You would definitely want to visit one of our almost now 1,500 locations of Toyota dealers to get service on your Tundra. For gas mileage, we're looking at between 18 and 20 with a blend of 19. So we bumped it up a little bit. V8 Tundra owners, shout out down below and let us know what your real mileage is. and what you think about the twin turbo setup. I know the turbo thing can be a little controversial because you have two roads. You have the people that like the small displacement, more powerful engines, and then you have the people that prefer just raw power at the sacrifice of gas economy. I've driven plenty of V8 Tundras and I've had a wide variety of gas mileage, but I don't have a lot of mileage under my belt on these, so I can't wait to see. There's a 10-speed transmission attached to this Tundra with four-wheel high and low, and we're going to talk about that way that drives shortly. But before we do that, let's talk about the back space in the Crew Max and then get inside and check out the cockpit. For lighting purposes, I'm going to get in on the shady side of the truck. I'm excited about this because I'm very passionate about Crew Max Tundras. Here's what it looks like getting into the Crew Max TRD Pro, the only version you can get. We're greeted right away with lots of space. And a familiar look in the TRD line. And like I mentioned, that digital modern camo resides in the seats as well. The actual space in the new Crew Max is in fact slightly less than the last generation. I think that's okay because it's still huge and it's a very small sacrifice for much further updates on the safety and handling. Here are the cleats that I mentioned that you can loosen up, install on the deck rail system, and slide to customize your anchoring. I'm gonna actually set these down here. The driver portfolio where you can put your booklets and business cards. And check that out, a Toyota first aid kit in case you're gonna collect this truck and preserve it and you wanna have something cool to talk about. Before we jump in on the door, big door, lots of different types of materials here, starting down low with a hard plastic with 2 bottle holders and storage that goes all the way down the door. Another additional shelf of storage here with a lip so your stuff doesn't slide out. And a door handle with no holes so you can even put knickknacks in there. Since it's a TNGA, you have auto down and up windows all around, so a simple push will put the window down automatically or up like that. And we have this nice soft red material here to match the seats. Things get a little softer as we go up. The softness starts about here, which I have a nice armrest and then an additional armrest up top, depending on the height of the person riding in the truck. If I'm very tall, I can rest my arm right here, which is nice. With the hybrid, there's one sacrifice you're making, and that's the storage underneath. So this is access to your fuses down below, and under here is going to be that hybrid battery. This is going to be quick access for technicians later down the line if they ever need to service the battery. If you were to get a Tundra that's not the Pro or one with the iForce Max, just the 3.5 twin turbo, you would have 2 buckets here to store things like emergency equipment. But moving on, nice little fold down armrest, which sadly my Tacoma doesn't have. I'm looking forward to that in new generation. With a tough and rugged cup holder here. No fancy flip out stuff like the 4Runner or in the Lexuses. Matching red seat belts. And a back windshield that still goes all the way down, which we'll check out in a little bit. But let me jump in. I'm gonna close the door and we'll really talk about what we think of this space. So I mean, I'm fully relaxed. This is my feet up. I'm looking at 14 to 16 inches of space. I'm 5'10", you could put people 6'4" to 6'6" in here. I can rest my arm here, like I said. I can rest my arm there. So for the kids and the shorties, down low, for taller people or for a more shoulder up relaxed feel, right there. My shoulder line is right about here on the window. Sitting up straight, my eye line is right about here on the window. And with the panoramic glass, I'll have a perfect view of the world as we're traveling through all of the adventures that we're going through. Sorry, I tripped on that word. Big views in the back here. And yeah, so yes, there will be people in the comment section or on the forums that argue, oh, well, yeah, it's less room in the new Crew Max. You know, Toyotas, they're messing with us. They don't care about us. I really honestly don't want to hear any of that because This is a ton of space, and it's a small sacrifice for safety. It's a better frame. Nothing wrong with the last gen, but it's updated, it drives better, it performs better. Here's the ventilation in the back. 2 separate vents here, which is nice. I'm gonna aim this on me because it's a hot one today. Now I can put these back up. 1-piece floor mat with a very cool rocky design. Gives it a lot of adventurous style to the back. A shelf with a non-stick pad here, or non-slip pad, it's kind of sticky. With USB-C and regular USB down here for fast and regular charging. And another house plug right over here. Of course, it's warning you, make sure you read the book because it cannot power everything, so you don't want to run any high power tools on this. And cup holders for the back as well. So not only do I have the 2 in the armrest, I have another 2 over here for us back here as well. So yeah, I'm very happy with this. I would be very excited to take a truck like this on adventures, and since I personally like to go off-roading a few times a year, and I'm very into camping, and I just love driving, I love road trips, I would be fine for as long as you want to take me in this truck. I'm chilling, I could lay down and sleep when we park. You got to get the Crew Max. And if you're getting the Pro, that's what you're going to get. My eye level sitting up straight is just about here. So I would say it's not a stadium style seating in the Tacoma. It's about the same as the last generation Tundra for height. And I'm not claustrophobic because I have giant windows here. I can kind of see through the side. Great view out the windshield. And of course we mentioned the panoramic roof. But without going on too long of a rant, storage is on both the seats and it's pretty dang big. And that's what the rear of the Tundra looks like. I want to go to the sunny side just to give you a little bit better view of the materials. I like that we're doing a black door handle instead of chrome. Just gives it that more rugged look. And with some direct sunlight, we almost have like a carbon fiber steel wood grain, I want to call it. Yeah, coin that one for me. Carbon fiber steel wood grain. It's a very interesting look. It's like a dark gunmetal silver. Very cool. Of course, with the upgraded sound system, we have the speakers and the tweeters here and the subwoofer in the back. Speaking of the back, I have my tools over here. And there's my subwoofer. So there is a little bit of storage in the back, just like the previous generation and the current generation Tacomas. You just pull the little rope here and that undoes itself, or this side for this seat. So you can store some emergency gear if you need to. Let's work our way up to the front. And here's what it looks like being the Copilot of the 2022 Tundra TRD Pro. Big tray on the bottom, a little bit unique storage here. It's like a shelf, goes all the way down to the speaker. Same thing as the back. Soft material here with a red stitching. We have a silver stitching on the red and then a red stitching again on the black. 2 levels of armrests like in the back as well, with a non-painted beautiful black. This will take the damage for years. Door handle and lock, and of course the auto down and up that we get on all 4. Nicely badged TRD Pro floor mat with that beautiful rock design and some mountains. And up here real quick, there's some little mountains on the windshield too if you look down there in the corner. Got my handle here. Let me close the door because it's hot out there. And here we are. I'm going to turn on my ventilated seat real quick because I'm kind of hot. It's a hot one today. Don't mind the breezy sound for just a couple minutes. So the first things I notice, obviously, are going to be the seats. This modern camo design is very cool. It's a perforated red Softex, which if you know about Softex, it took Toyota over 10 years to develop it. It has a slight reflective property. It doesn't ever smell like leather, and it lasts just as long, if not longer. And behind the perforations, you'll see a flannel that has black, white, and red for the camo. I think I even see some dark gray in there too, but it could just be my eyes playing with me. And a beautiful embroidered TRD Pro here. The red seat belts. I could take it or leave it, but I'll admit the red seat belts are really cool. I've never been in red seat belts before. My 3 favorite things about the interior so far, and I've spent, a couple hours in this truck over the last few days, are gonna be the dash here, the shifter, and the bubble. I think that steel carbon fiber wood grain looks very nice, and the little details on this Toyota Heritage badge here are awesome. It's not the same as on the grill. This is almost like a pitted granite Toyota badge here with almost like a glowing red shiny plate underneath each letter, which really does almost make it look like it's just glowing with red energy. Just gets your heart rate up, and it makes you want to get out there and go do stuff. Onto the shifter. The shape of it, very modern. It fits the hand nicely. It just feels good to shift it. Of course, I shouldn't do it with the left hand. It's designed for the right hand, but you have that soft styling here. There's the stitching, the red in the middle. It's recessed. It looks good. You got the TRD here. I don't like the Tacoma TRD shifter. I love the Tundra TRD shifter. And that button there, which won't go in until you press the brake, it just feels very nice. With the black on black here, so that your eyes are drawn towards that red stripe. And the bubble, which we'll explore more when we get into the driver's seat. Being a watch guy, I'm wearing a flat crystalled watch, but I'm a sucker for the bubbles. There's a little bit of a bubble here with that TRD, and it's just shiny and it looks cool. It's almost retro in a way. It's bringing back that heritage. It adds a little bit of shine and fluid look to the otherwise soft, non-chromed, rugged look. Just adds a little bit of refreshing, watery effect to the interior. I don't know how else to say it. It's watery. It looks very cool. It's clear. And speaking of chrome, unlike the last generation of Tundra and the current generation of Tacoma, there's not a lick of chrome inside of here besides one place really, the badge. So there's no longer chrome around the dials. There's no longer chrome around the shifter. There's not even chrome around this dial. And they even subdued the chrome around the push button starter. So there's no way for any light to be reflecting and shooting in your eyes. And as it gets darker throughout the day, it's gonna really add to that dark, rugged look of the truck, leaving that chrome badge to be the star of the show. But back to basics. Sitting in an upright position, my eyes are about here. The visibility is great. My eyes are very attracted to this screen. This is the 14-inch tablet, I call it, that you're getting, which is integrated with the vents onto the bezel. No shininess on the outside of the bezel here. And it's almost like a slightly matted finish to the glass so that there's not too much reflection. I think they did very well with it. I'm not afraid to use it. I don't think Toyota just slapped it on there. I think it was designed very nicely with the vents, and it adds to that technical look, that technical rugged look that the Tundra has. It's huge, and when I first saw it, I didn't know what to think, but with this map on here, it's awesome. Here's my visibility looking out the side window. Nice big mirrors, so the driver can see their blind spot. And there's a big glove box with lots of books, lots of information. And if you watch the tutorial video I'm gonna make on this truck, the link is gonna be in the comments or description. There's a lot of stuff in this truck. Shelf from the factory. There's a lock and glove box. So before we jump in the driver's seat, you can see right away it still has that utilitarian design. Yes, it is much different than the last generation of Tundra. And yes, you don't have as many big, round, oversized knobs to use with work gloves. But you have levers that are very easy to use. And you still have that ergonomic feel that Toyota gives you. For instance, the temperature is right by its lever. The air direction is right by its lever. The fan speed is right by its lever. And you just have simple, square, laid out, easy to figure out what they are buttons, all in a row. It doesn't kind of look like some other vehicles where it all goes down. And I really do appreciate that Toyota did the buttons separately from the screen on the climate control. One of my personal pet peeves is when manufacturers make you use the screen for the climate control. So let me know what you think of that. There's plenty of storage. I also like the more upright position of the wireless charger so that you can kind of see things, you know, more from an operational standpoint. Cutouts for tools and wires, a multi-stage cup holder system here with not sliding, and some more storage here. But I want to get into the driver's seat so we can see what it looks like over there. We're going to do a startup. We'll talk about the center console, some of the buttons, and then we'll take this awesome truck for a drive. And here's what it looks like getting into the new 2022 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. I'm going to jump in and start it up so you can see the awesome startup on this truck. Nice pedals. There it is. Check that out. So here's what it looks like being a driver in the new Tundra TRD Pro. I love that little badge here. The pads are much different. They're a little more oblong instead of the little squares. The leather wrapping feels good. The steering wheel almost feels a little bit fatter. The red stripe is a nice touch, but it's not too much. And notice how this plastic horn here goes all the way around the steering wheel and right back into itself with a gloss finish. It's very three-dimensional, which I like. I appreciate that Toyota did not go gloss black here, or even gloss gunmetal like on the 4Runners, because this part of the steering wheel takes a beating a lot more than this would. What these buttons do will be included in the tutorial video, so be sure to check that out. But I just want to give you a quick look at what the buttons look like. So you have the folding mirrors, seat memory, the heated steering wheel, TRD light bar when you're in 4-wheel drive because it's super bright. A beautiful LCD readout here, which you can customize. You can even turn off the sides so that it's only the speedometer if you like a clean cut look. And there's that 14-inch map. Nice digital rear view mirror for more of a peripheral view. And I just got to show it to you. Check that out. And this half will open up if you wanted to with the little lever here. And then of course we have the traditional. But it's a hot one. We're all LED now on the interior lights. And for the reading light here, the little do your makeup light, whatever you want to do here, whoever's driving it, it's a frosted LED. It reminds me of the Lexus. The seats are comfortable. They're a little bit more firm than the last generation. The design is gorgeous to me. And the ventilated option on the seat, which is this little guy here, next to the heated seat option, is cooling me off and making me very happy. I wanted to show you the storage on the center console. So right in front of the rear passenger's cup holders, there's another one of these steel carbon fiber wood grain. I don't know what to call it, guys. Do you like that? Steel carbon fiber wood grain? I mean, it's long, but it's interesting. It's nice. It's not too shiny because this is going to get scratched over time. That pops up, and there's a quick holder for documents, maybe a phone, whatever you need, pocket knife, etc. A pair of gloves won't fit in here. It's not very deep. The reason why it's shallow is because there's a sliding shelf here, which gives you quick access to this giant bucket dungeon that we're going to explore. It has a nice catch to it, so it doesn't want to go, but it's not stubborn either. And it stays here too so that it doesn't accidentally slide forward if you want to keep it open. So say you hit the brakes really hard, it's not going to slide forward and annoy you. I think they did good with this. It's a little shaky like that, but I think there's a reason for it because they designed it to be so light. I don't expect this to rattle. I drove this truck. It doesn't rattle, and I've driven a couple of the other variants. It doesn't really rattle. I'd imagine if you're doing some gravel racing, it's going to rattle, but who knows? We'll find out. This is going to be soft and plush, a little bit better than the Tacomas that are currently out, a little bit better than the last generation of Tundra. That's nice. And back to the armrest, speaking of plush. A little harder here, gets a little plush as you go down where the elbow will be. Or for the taller people, or when I want to relax a little more when I'm going slow. I like that dual armrest. Instead of a curved surface where my arm keeps sliding off like that or catching the window, I can rest my arm here and the window will not bump my elbow, which is nice. So while my passengers have their arms up, I can put the window up when I decide to and it's not going to shock them. They're not going to think I was trying to get them. There's a button on each side so that passenger or driver can open up the center console. Toyota got rid of the tissue holder and the pen clips, which I suspect people didn't either know because they weren't shown or didn't bother because they didn't want to use the tissue holder and the two pen clips that the last generation of Tundra had. And of course, you had to make room for the shelf here. And I think the shelf here is a lot more useful than that. For those that wonder, I'll show it to you. And we have a multi-stage, so it's a 3 to 4 stage event happening down here with 2 USBs, coin holders, which is kind of funny. I wonder if Toyota just did this to say they did it. A hole to run a wire through, and some Easter eggs, which is going to be hard to show you, but let me get the camera in here. Easter eggs are like little hidden features. Check out those little trucks. The mats here are going to be kind of like a rubber, like the bed mat here as well, and down below. So we have a total of 3 mats. On my deepest point, it's 2/3 up to my elbow, halfway up to my elbow, and just past my wrist. I know everybody has different size arms, but I'm just trying to give you an idea here. And I like that they did the multiple stages here, and there's a little lip on each stage, so I can really customize my things. I can run a book, like a notebook, a small tablet. You know, I can put a purse, a bag, a wallet. They really give you the options. I'd also imagine in the future there'll probably be an aftermarket option for a shelf here like on the Tacoma. I'd rate that an A+. I think they did very well with it. And this comes down very lightly and simple. And it really doesn't move that much at all, which is nice. Not a lot of shaking and rattling like I've seen on some of the competition. And that closes there. Or if I have a giant Yeti, I can put it down in that one and it can come out all the way through my sunroof, and I can drink whatever I'm drinking until the end of my 10-hour off-roading adventure. The utilitarian design of the Tundra remains, with these very rugged, tactile feeling knobs to change my drive modes for multi-train select, or even set up my tow and haul features. We have these, I don't want to call them fake screws, but just little notches to add to that rugged look. The 4-wheel drive system is updated now. Instead of it being a turn dial next to the push button, it's a little push lever, which very easily goes into 4 high and back to 2 high. Very nice. And once I'm in neutral, I can push and go down into 4 low. I've used it. Super easy to use. And an awesome screen here, which I can totally customize what I'm looking at. Or I can go into off-road mode and I can see, like for instance, I can see as if I'm sitting on top of the truck. And steering, I can see the rocks on the sides, and all the boulders I'm coming up on. I might not even have to have my friends get out and spot me. Of course, being TNGA, I have an automatically applying parking brake that's electronic, standard brake control, and I can tap the 360 view by the little push of a button. The other nice thing is it'll automatically give me the frontal camera and 360 at low speeds when I'm in drive, which is convenient. So as I slow down, I can get a quick glance at how close I am getting to things. But like I mentioned, if you want to see what all these buttons do, you'll have to check out the tutorial. We do now have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wireless, so there's no connection. And there's your map. I can go back to the Toyota interface like this, and I can operate some settings right here, or go back to CarPlay in a cinch. But I think that's a pretty decent introduction to the awesome interior of this truck. Let's take it down the street, talk about the power, the way it sounds and feels, and conclude the video. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. You may think, oh, well, why didn't you go over all of the technical specs and numbers? Why did you only focus on the way things look and feel? The reason I do that is because you can easily get all of those technical things from the brochure, which I'll include in the links, and the build sheet, which I'll include from Toyota.com. I like to give it a different approach. This is my style. I like to give you a laid-back introduction and just let you know how it feels jumping in. So right away on this drive, I notice a little bit of a rumble. It has a V8 rumble. I mean, let's be real. The V6s don't make that rumbling sound. I don't know if the camera is going to be able to pick up on that. That's an artificial sound that Toyota puts in the speakers. I can hear the turbos kicking in. I'm about 30% throttle, and it had no issue getting up to speed. That was in sport mode. Like I said, about 30% throttle. The visibility is great. You got the little spot there, but not a big deal. A lot better than the last gen. To me, the tablet is not in the way. It fits nicely into the dash line. This is my eye level. So you'll see it integrates itself right into the dash. It's pushing the limits of its space, but when you put your eyes in the center of the windshield, it fits right in there. So yeah, the acceleration is good. I'm gonna give it a little bit more of an open throttle here real quick. Gotta slow it back down though. It kicked me in my seat a little bit. It's quick. It's a heavy truck. It didn't blow me out of the water and make me scream, but yeah, this is nice. It's got more power than I expected from a V6 twin turbo with a hybrid on it. I think it's very sufficient. The braking is very good. We're gonna take it around a turn in just a minute so I can talk about the way it turns. I think the red interior really brings a lot of life. It's a beautiful day up here, guys. Got my ventilated seat on level 2, AC on low. It says 82 out, but I'm hot because I wear long sleeves all year round. So we'll carry about 30 around this turn. Yeah, it's better than the last generation. It's not night and day, but you can feel it. So +1 for TNGA. Now I'll give it a little more juice. Gotta slow it back down. It's fun. I know the artificial rumble is going to be controversial. Let me know what you think of that. To me, it's not a big deal. It actually sounds really nice. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is what it is. You know, I don't know if you can turn that off, but if we were to go outside the truck, it wouldn't quite sound as rumbly. And I'd say that frontal camera kicks in, I think at 10 miles an hour and under. You can see it reads the road signs right there by the speedometer. So when I'm going lower speeds under 10, I can see all around the truck. I can see where the curb is. See that? It's got guidelines. We're trying to keep the miles low in this truck. And gas is not cheap. So I'm gonna park this. We'll wrap up the video, and I can't wait to hear what you think of the Tundra. So there it is, guys. The 2022 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. We started with the exterior styling. We talked about the way it drives. Then we went inside and looked at the space. And we went over some of the buttons and features. And we drove it. I hope this video helped you. If you're in the market for a TRD Pro, I know it's hard to see them at the dealer level. There's not a lot of inventory. But let me know if it did help you. Or if you're not even ever going to get a Pro and you're just interested and this was entertaining. I'd like to hear from everybody down in the comments, so let me know. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.